But I know you. I've heard a little bit of your story, right? And it's been
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of what you do. But to all the people who haven't heard you, um, who are you? Who is Liam? Who is what do you do? What are stuff that sets you apart from other people?
Right. So, I go by Baby Boy Blue. My real name is Liam Reyes. I've been a artist as a music artist for a little over 8 years. I'd even go as far as say 10 years. That I've been making music, picking up instruments, performing all these things. But as a professional music producer, which is my title, I have been producing for the last 8 years.
Wow,
I don't like to specifically say a genre because I've produced and mixed and worked with a lot of different genres from punk to regular pop music
yeah,
to indie pop to acoustic tracks. That's basically the gist of what I am. And then I also release music under my new artist name, which is Baby Boy Blue.
hmm,
And what I do is I produce the entire track and get some of my favorite homies or some of my favorite artists on the track, and we kind of build this entire sound together, and it's a full collaborative process.
amazing. Where the name? You got to explain to me where you got the name. Like it seems like there's a
Great. So
backstory to it.
there actually is, so before um I was Baby Boy Blue. I was just going by Liam Reyes. And I was making acoustic music, a lot like you, dude. Like seriously, like whenever I hear your music, it's very much reminiscent of like the things I used to do
Mm,
back in the day. And I think, because it was a little bit more punk oriented, I wanted to leave it. So I feel like the only way to do that was to just completely rebrand. And when
mm,
I was thinking about a name, this was back in 2018, 2017 even. Um, I was out to dinner for my birthday with my mother. And one of my ex-girlfriends from high school actually texted me just saying, "Oh, happy birthday, hope you're doing well." I proceeded to just, have a small conversation with her, telling her how I wanted to rebrand, and that was like a really big struggle at the moment.
gotcha.
And I was thinking of some names that were like really stupid. Uh, and to she was basically like, you need to have a name that is going to hold your legacy for the rest of your life. It shouldn't
Mm,
be anything that doesn't resonate, that at the very least.
yeah.
So right, like literally the text after she said that was, what was that name that your mother used to call you when you were a kid, when you were like a baby? And mind
Huh.
you, it was on some like God thing because my mother was like legitimately sitting in front of me. So once she said that, I literally looked up at my mom, and then I texted back my ex-girlfriend saying she used to call me Baby Boy Blue.
Why?
And so like even to go even deeper, like Baby Boy Blue.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find any fucking trace of this, right? But for some reason, like I hardcore assume, if anybody wants to check this, um, I assume that it was a children's book. And in the children's
Uh,
book, the mother would call their baby, um, Baby Boy Blue. And I think that my mom really liked that name and that tone. So and she loved reading this book to me apparently. So she just started calling me Baby Boy Blue. And, she stopped really early. She stopped calling me it really early, but for some reason, like, just always stuck with me. So now it's like a really big thing within like my mom and I, where she's like, "That's my Baby Boy Blue." Like now, like not even like she went years without saying it. Now she calls me like, "Oh, that's my Baby Boy Blue." You know.
that is a
So
very interesting story.
yeah, it's really like a huge point that I always think about. It's definitely a way to just like honor like not just myself, but honor my mom and like our family. Definitely.
That's a big thing. Like moms, like to be honest, I'm gonna be real transparent. Like my mom started funding my music like 2 3 years ago, and it's like without her, like none of my actual big music, like the ones, at least the last two releases, wouldn't be possible without her or the family. It's just, I don't know. You think that's a very, what do you think of that? Do you think that family is a big thing for musicians, especially the ones like you that are doing this for a career? How go ahead.
So I really can't speak for everybody because again, like everybody's family situation is different, right?
Right.
I don't think it's a discussion about family more than it's a discussion about the general privileges that you have. And of course there's going to be people who are just as privileged as you. There's people going to be way more privileged than you, and then there's going to be people below you, right? So
Right.
it helps. I have a family that although at times they may disagree and not understand fully, they support it to the extent of not bugging me about it, right? And not a lot of people have that. Not a lot of people have the ability to say like, my mom supports what I do, let alone financially, right? I was fortunate enough that for many years, my mom supported it enough to say like, she'll pay for my bills until I can take on the bills myself, right? A lot of moms or a lot of dads or just families in general, if they hear you going into music, they'll say, all right, go make money yourself, period, and you're not in a place to start making money yet.
Right.
So whenever like I have this discussion with people, I always say, and especially since a lot of my friends do have this privilege, I tell them to utilize it as much as they can, because and again, this probably goes for you too, like that your mom giving you money and having that support for your music career is a privilege, right?
Yeah.
And with that privilege, a lot of people want to say, oh, like I need to be like broke to try to understand. No, like like you should definitely like take advantage of the things that you're given, so that when inevitably it's taken away, exactly what to do, right? Because you're supposed to be using that time to play smart with how you handle not even just the money, but like the support from people.
Right. And that went on for you before you started your music career, or that happened like during your music career when you had the numbers, like at least something to show to your parents? Or
Right. Well, I mean, for me, they supported me fine. I even think that they still are to a certain degree. Like there's definitely a few bills that my mom pays for, like for example the car insurance.
Yeah.
Right. But again, like I'll never ever take for granted. But when I made the jump into doing music full time, for the first couple months, they were still paying my rent, like my mom, at the very least, my dad was paying the rent. And it became a choice for myself to actually take on these bills.
Right.
Because again, like, having that financial backing from your parents can really set you up with a lot, because, that nothing's really at stake. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
You know that you don't really have too much to lose. So in a lot of people's brains, at least they should think this way, is since I don't have anything to lose, I could throw anything at the wall to see if it sticks to try to make X amount of money.
Right.
So that when you do start slowly taking on bills, like I pay my rent, I pay my electric, my internet, right? All these stuff, like it's now like, okay, I know this sticks to the wall.
Right.
I'm gonna keep doing this because this is what actually pays the bills, and that wouldn't be possible if I didn't have that period where my mom and my dad and even like my sisters were really supporting me in that way.
Right. So do you think that's a much more feasible way for a music producer or someone who wants to do music like as full time? Do you think that path is better than actually going through the academic route? You know what I mean? And like getting a job at a corporate and start doing music, get their bills that way. which do you think is much more, or what is your advice to those people who are starting out, who at least have the privilege of time to choose between different routes?
I strongly believe that, you know, the earlier that you can hop into the thing that you actually love to do, especially if you have that financial privilege, like, i.e., if you're like 20 something years old, 19 years old, and you're still living at your mom's house rent free,
Right.
or bill free, like fully bill free, right? It never made, like, at least like being in the position that I'm at now, you know, being Filipino, my mom and my dad always made me work. Not made me work, but it was a huge thing. It's like, you want to afford to do whatever you want to do, pay for it yourself, right? I think that's what a lot of people are into. They want to do things themselves, but being in the position that I'm at now, and I see a lot of, especially homies, right? I see a lot of homies who literally live in their mom's place, who want to start doing music full time, or want to become a music producer, or take on anything music, and they're living at their mom's house, their dad's house, wherever they stay, and their parents are legitimately saying, hey, you can live here rent free, you can live here bill free. So it never like, I never understood why when people hear that, they don't jump into the thing that they want to do, right? Instead, they want to work, you know, at Amazon, or they want to work at an office, or they want to do that. It's like, dude, you're living bill free. Yeah. Like, this is now the time where, you know, you want to start making money. Learn how to make money in the thing that you want to do. You know what I mean?
Makes sense. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Makes sense, right? And
Right.
Like I said, not a lot of people have that privilege. You know, there's definitely people who their parents say, like, the second you turn 18, you have to start paying bills.
Right.
Like, those are the people that I actually have sympathy and empathy for, because then it's like, yo, you have to actually pay like 3x what you would make in music, depending on what you do. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's like,
right.
so either like you take that huge risk of jumping into music, and there's like a huge like anxiety in you because you're not making X amount. But again, like I said, a lot of these people, they have the privilege to live bill free and rent free. If you're in that position, definitely like take advantage of it. You know, like use it so you have that leg up, instead of wasting time at a job that you're just using to you know, spend money on things that probably don't fully matter right now.
Right. You have a dog. I think it goes by the name of Thor, right? Is it Thor?
It's technically my sister's dog.
It's your sister's dog, but judging by your stories, it's pretty much your dog. So are you? I take it you're more of a dog person than a cat person.
Technically, I'm now both. My roommate in this house has a cat that I have deeply fallen in love with. This is my homie. It's like this kid also took away my allergies to cats. I used to be really allergic to cats. Now I'm just used to it, you know, but
right.
Ever since, you know, my roommate got this cat, I've just been a hybrid of both dog person and cat person.
Interesting. No, myself, I do not. Well, let's put it this way. I'm 60% dog person and I'm 40% cat person. The reason why is because cats just like poop in my backyard, and I really hate it when I step on them and it smells and it stinks. So that's like the minus 10% instantaneously. So.
There's definitely a difference.
Yeah, I know. I'm like not in that position to love cats when they don't love me first. But so dreaming. Okay, as a creative, usually what we do is we have a general concept of where we're going, like a general direction, and and then we execute on that, like from macro to micro kind of thing. That's a very Gary Vee thing to say, but you get the point. My question is, how do you get those ideas? Where do they come from? Let's say I give you a task to get out a single by next month. Where do you start in that? How do you embark on that journey? The storytelling, where does it come from? Like the whole creative process of it. How do you start on that? Just to give value to the audience who are.
So when it comes to, I guess like the question is like, how do you operate under very short deadlines, especially when it comes to being creative?
Right.
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 So like the thing about, short deadlines that I have learned is that it takes you sincerely being open-minded and a little bit careless, right? And what I mean by that is when you're open-minded, you have more of a reason to just try things, even if you know that they may not work, right? So there's like at least like 20% of you kind of just trying things and like saying anything. Like think about when you're writing a song, right? When you're writing a song, you kind of just say like random words until something happens. At least that's the way that I go about things. I don't really like go about like, oh, there's this phrase in my head or there's this word. Like I just say random things until they start making sense, right? But then like the other 80%, and this is especially when you are in a very tight deadline, the other 80% comes from just knowing things that you know already, right? So let's say for mixing, I know that there are certain frequencies in vocals that I can already cut, or there's like a certain sweet spot that you can high pass to make it sound good.
Right.
If I was in a really short deadline, I'm not going to like spend 10-15 minutes like listening to that high pass filter or like, really tweaking that high pass filter. I'm going to put it where I know sounds best. And if I need to readjust, I'm going to readjust really quickly, but that's it. Right. So the same thing goes for songwriting. If I know that certain sounds work, or if I know that like, there's certain phrases or melodies that I like, or things that I know my audience likes,
Right.
I'm most likely going to do that. And then where the fun and where it makes actual difference is that 20% where you get to actually be creative and just say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna try anything. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. If it works, then like, why would you not include that one thing?
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. So which do you like more? Do you like working on songs more in an engineering perspective, or do you like actually making or songwriting the song? Which process do you like more?
I like the engineering more. This isn't even like a diss on myself, but being, especially here in Philly, and the more that I connect with people, I see that there's so many more talented songwriters and even music producers. I mean, just to give credit to myself, I think I'm a damn good music producer. I can write a song, right? I'm not like a really ass songwriter. But nevertheless, I think that where I am at my strongest is when I'm engineering, when I'm the one making the decisions to say, hey,
Or
like,
mix, yeah.
Yeah, like do this instead, or I'm the one actually going into the frequencies and like mixing everything. That is where I know I am, like, not even sound cocky, but that's where I know I'm better than a lot of people.
Basically, guys, just get some mixes from Liam, and then you'll be set. Promotion. Shameless plug. No. That's so. College. Did you go to college, or did you drop out of college? What happened? What happened to you?
So, going into college, it's always been an L, but 90% of it was more to make other people happy, i.e., like my mom and my dad. Being Filipino, like that's a huge thing for us, right? Um, but going into college, like when I say that it was an L, I applied for the audio program at the school I went to, did not get in. Like literally did not get in because I couldn't play an instrument like in the traditional way, which I think is ridiculous, right? I had the main professor tell me, Liam, you are the ideal audio engineer student. Just pass your audition. I didn't pass the audition, so they said no, right? Um, but it never like fully discouraged me. Like they told me to re-audition, so I said no. So I just went into music studies. And I knew that, like it wasn't gonna stop me from actually producing. Mind you, like at this point, I was already making so many records as a teenager. I was already making money, which was a huge thing, right? So, you know, being in school, I went through the whole music thing. I learned a little bit, but I didn't have fun, right? I had more fun in my English classes and my philosophy classes than I did actual music class. So then I switched over to communications where they would actually teach you the software. This is when I got into Pro Tools, right? And when I got into Pro Tools, I learned everything. I started tracking bands, I started tracking artists. And again, like the year that I picked up Pro Tools and the year before I dropped out, which is I'll get to that. The year before I dropped out was when I was making the most money I have had ever made in my music career to that point, right? So, you know, that year, like just producing people was able to send me on vacation to places like Montreal and California. And, it kind of proved to me like, I didn't learn these skills by being in college. I didn't learn these skills by, you know, having a professor teach it to me, right? The quick story that I always tell is like I was in a class for Pro Tools and the professor didn't even know how to route something, so he had to turn and ask me if I knew. Then I told him how to do it, and then that was one of those huge turning points where I was like, why am I even in school? Why am I paying, five figures for school?
Yeah.
So I was in year three, right? I was in year three. Again, I had just came back from vacations.
Right.
Still making records, still making a lot of projects. But I was sitting in Korean class. Oh man, I remember this to the T. I was sitting in Korean class. I didn't do the homework. I didn't do anything because I was too busy producing, right? I was too busy making the fucking records, right?
Right.
I didn't do the homework. Teacher got on to me. She said, "Hey, what is the answer to this?" And I didn't know what to say, so I said, "I don't know." And it was the first time in my entire collegiate career that I said, "I feel like an idiot." And then the first time that I also told myself, "I think I should drop out,"
Mm.
right? So when I had that moment, it was like, I know I'm smart at producing. I know I'm smart at mixing and everything. Um, but why am I sitting in class learning Korean when I know I don't want to?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I sitting in a film class making, videos in Avid when I don't want to, right? So after convincing my mom, funnily, like after convincing my mom, I just dropped out, and proceeded to try to tackle this whole music career without school.
Wow. Wow. Guts. That's all I'm gonna say. Some
A lot.
guts.
It's a lot.
But honestly, that's some that kind of like built up, like the rationale behind why you kind of dropped out is it didn't just happen because of like one event. It was like multiple events stacked together and kind of like, you know what, this is like the best thing I can do, like, and I need to focus 110% of what I want to do to the thing I actually want to put it in. And that's where I admire you, and that's kind of like where I admire people who embark in this journey of full time music. It's just such it's not a usual route people would take, but it's a route that most people need to know. But we're running out of time, so we can wrap up with this last question. To those people who are embarking on this journey of doing the things that you are going to do or you did, what would that piece of advice be?
So if I had to sum it up, I would definitely say, don't be afraid to try things and really understand that you're in it for the long run, right? You shouldn't be afraid to, fail and try something and just have it completely fall flat on your face, because it'll be a testament and it'll be proof if you actually like this thing. Being a full-time music producer, just going into music full-time is literally like you're in like I think like a circuit race is like the best way to describe it, or like a marathon where anybody who can run, like everybody can run, right? There's going to be people who get maybe like a quarter of the way into the marathon and know that they can't do it and they just stop at that point. There's some people where like they start getting tired at 50% and they say that like, the goal of winning this race or the goal of achieving this achievement is way greater than, being tired or any like short-term thing. So they continue to persist even though like there's bad things happening to them or like they're getting tired, So that to me is like really reminiscent of how music is. There's so many things that will make you want to just quit. There's so many things that will make you say like, this is not worth it, especially money. Money's a huge thing. But when you kind of just like understand that like it's possible, especially, I mean, dude, especially as Filipinos, right? You see a lot of Filipinos like us who are not only, making it big, getting the notoriety, but, making a living off of this. This is the only job they have. They don't work at any like restaurant that they hate or any other job that they hate. Like they're just doing this. If it's possible for those people and they're Filipino and they're around our age, or like even if they're like a little bit older, right? Like it's possible for you to do too. So the best way that you can achieve that is literally just by finding your own path, trying your own things, and understanding if you're actually built for it. And it's okay if you're not, but you'll know when you get there. You'll know that at points where you want to quit, if you persist, that's when you're actually meant to do this entire music thing.
That's amazing. And I heard that from your TikTok. That was good. So yeah. I do, honestly, I appreciate your time. I would love a part 2. Just let me know, hit me up. And thank you, man. I'll let you go. And
thanks for having me.
On behalf of of course, on behalf of the audience, thank you for giving us value. Like, like people need to hear your story so they can make right decisions and whatever they want to do, right? So amazing. Thank you, bro.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
What is up, podcast? Liam has a course out right now, and it's about mixing vocals entitled Adaptable Vocals, and it's basically his process, and he's going to teach us how he mixes vocals. I do not know how to mix vocals, and I feel like for people who are artists, I think it's going to be a helpful tool for all of us. So go ahead and check that out on his channel. It's BOYBLUEBABY, and you can just look it up on Instagram. Again, that's BOYBLUEBABY. That's all one word. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast.
Pagtingin mo may bigote na siramon, umiiyak pa no. Ang jamming